Hello and welcome to Adaptation, the vlog where we talk about films and the original material they're based on. I'm Kendyl and to kick off this October, we're going to be talking about a film that had a deep emotional and physical effect on my formative years, Bedazzled. The origin of this beautiful piece of cinema goes all the way back to a German legend of Dr. Johann Faustus, which first appeared in print in 1587. The general plot of the story goes something like this. Faustus is quite the scholar, and after mastering a range of fields from theology to medicine to necromancy, this genius decides that he wants to commune with the devil. He succeeds and then makes a deal with old Beelzebub that in 24 years' time he will surrender his body and soul in exchange for the devil being at his service until that time. With Lucifer's help, Faustus becomes famous and rich, and he gets lots of girls, and he travels all over the universe. As his time comes ticking down, however, Faustus realizes that he has been a giant fool, but he can't undo his deal with the devil, and to really drive that point home, his body is eventually found splattered all over the walls of his room. This lovely little tale inspired a whole host of follow-up works, including The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe in 1604, and Goethe's Faust in 1772. I watched a production of Marlowe's play to see if I could get a little bit more meat to this story, but to be honest, it didn't really do it for me. Probably because a big chunk of it is just Faust being kind of juvenile with his powers, like turning invisible and messing with the Pope. There are a couple of times when he thinks about repenting and he has to either be distracted or scared off of it, which lend a little bit of gravity to the play. But to be honest, the best part of it for me was Mephistopheles, who is the servant that the devil assigns to Faustus to do his bidding, and was played by a truly awesome actress in the production that I saw. But really, we're here to talk about the contemporary work of genius that is Bedazzled, which brings us to 1967, when the original version of the film was made, based on the Faust legend. The poster calls it the thinking man's comedy of the year, which might be a bit of a stretch. But this is where we bring in the woman that our main character is trying to woo, the limit to 7 wishes, and the be careful what you wish for lesson. Stanley just wants to live happily ever after with Margaret, the girl he can't bring himself to ask out. But every time he makes a wish, the devil finds a way to screw it up. Luckily for Stanley, the devil, who is called George in this film, has exceeded his 1 billion souls that he was in a race with God to collect, so he generously returns Stanley's before trying to re-enter heaven. That was the deal he had, by the way. If he got to 1 billion souls first, he got to go back to heaven. But because of some weirdly screwy logic in the film, he still doesn't get to go by the end. This film is certainly a product of its time, but I still found it mostly delightful and definitely hilarious, especially if British humor is your jam. And now that I've seen it, I noticed a ton of callbacks in the 2000 version, which, let's be honest, is the real reason we're here. Okay, I'm only kind of kidding when I call this film a masterpiece. I mean, I'm aware that it's no Citizen Kane, but it's definitely up there with Legally Blonde in its personal importance to me. And that's only kind of because of my deep love, among other feelings, for Brendan Fraser. And Elizabeth Hurley. And now that I know the source material better, I can appreciate the journey that Elliot goes on even more. I mean, Faust is kind of obnoxious in the beginning, just like that cringe-worthy opening in Bedazzled. And while I found George's deal with God pretty amusing, I think it makes much more sense that Elliot's selfless act is what gets him out of his contract. And I really love the ending. And the soundtrack is so 2000 I can't even stand it. It's possible that I can't be truly biased about this film. I will admit that there are some sketchy parts. Again, I say, product of its time. But apart from the aforementioned opener where Elliot's being a socially awkward ding-dong, there is not a scene in this movie that I don't totally adore watching. If you want to fight with me about it, do it in the comments or on any of our social media, which is linked in the info section. And while you're digging around down there, don't forget to click the link to iTunes and check out our podcast. Until next time, don't forget to give the devil her due.